Maybe a little bit, because that shaft's not a shaft in our line. There's no tempting to change it to something that is in the line. It can just stay. Well, oh, I've been playing this shaft for 4 years, so it's like it's just something that allows me to not change it. And I've been the same way with when I first started with Mizuno. I remember I got a whole new bag, and it took me forever to figure all the clubs out. Like the driver was the toughest one to figure out, just because it was old MP001 before the 460 came out, and all it did was hit hook shots, and it drove me nuts. And then I remember there was a old Callaway 2-iron that I still had in my bag. That was the one competitor club that never went away. But then, like, slowly, I got all the Mizuno clubs in. I mean, I had Mizuno irons and wedges before I even started here, so that was good. So they could stay. But then slowly, I'd get new sets each year, and then half of them would stay, half of them wouldn't make the cut. And it's still like that. I've still got a 3-wood that's almost probably 10 years old. So I'm just not a changer. It's almost, you have to think of it from two separate ways. Think of it as from a golfer's point of view and from an engineer's point of view. Like with every club that comes out, even when we launch it, there's something that could be better about it. I know a few things, like whether the feel wasn't quite right, whether it didn't flow quite right from one club to the next, something. There's those little engineering things you can always improve for the next version. You can get the COR a little bit higher, you can get the feel a little bit better, the sound a little bit better. But from a golfer's point of view, some of those matter and some of those don't. So it's, if you're dialed in, if you're comfortable for what you like, I get why people are hesitant to change sometimes. I'm like that. So I remember when I first started, I got 32s, and they stayed in the bag for a really long time. I would get a new set every year they came out, but then I'd play for about 4 or 5 rounds, then the 32s would slowly work their way back into the bag. I was like that with the MP Fly High long irons for a long time. Same thing. The old original MP Fly High long iron the 3 and the 4 would always end up back in my bag, even though I built an H4, an H5, whatever. They would always end up back in the bag. And same with the 3-wood, took forever. The 3-wood, I've got an old MX 700 that is super old, but every time I try something new, I don't know what it's going to do, and I go back to what I know it's going to do, especially because a 3-wood's a layup club. A 3-wood's a club you're not necessarily going all out, so I don't need it to do anything different than what this one does.
The difference in you not changing is because your golf clubs are correct.
See,
that's the difference, that the average consumer, their golf clubs aren't correct.
I think there's a big part of that. You're totally right. Because I joke that I have access to all the clubs and that I don't change even though I have access. But with access to the clubs, I have access to all the fitting tools,
right,
the expertise of you, like the tour guide, all that stuff to get dialed in.
So you're just looking at different models, and you used to look at the model, but your set is fitted for you.
Right.
So if it's correct for you, because you're not a tinkerer, you don't change the models that much.
Yeah.
But the consumers, most of the time, their set's not made for them. So they have to go in and change because they got to get something that's correct.
I take it back, there's only one club in my bag right now that I don't feel like fits me perfect, and that's my hybrid. The actual like wood type hybrid. I feel like everything else fits me perfect. That one, I'm always looking around to see if there's something that'll do something a little bit better.
Is that you think that's because of a shaft issue, or do you think it's because of a head issue, or do you think it's because of you're trying to, a lot of times hybrids go left, and you're trying to maybe get the ball to go a little bit more right? And
it might be that I don't have defined in my head exactly what I want it to do.
Whether it's a distance club or you want it to
That's
be,
exactly
I want it to
right.
be a distance club, or
a specific distance or a long distance, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like where I do like this hybrid is all my other clubs. I feel like they're dialed in to never go left. They're dialed in to fall to the right. This hybrid, I feel like it turns over a little bit, which it's good because if I have a go-to shot when I know I need to actually turn one over, this hybrid does that. It's an older model, but it sits a little bit too upright, but I know it's going to fall like this. But at the same time, that's scary if you're hitting it off the tee and there's a little bit of trouble on the left because it's the one club that I know is going to fall to the left.
Yeah, so you've got to do something differently in your shaft to make it a
that's
little bit firmer shaft to counteract the ball going left.
That's exactly right. I went a stiffer, heavier on the shaft as well to try to counteract that.
To make it go right.
Yep.
Yeah, but the good thing about hybrids now is, the ones now are dialed in that you can sit there and dial the lofts.
But that shows where I don't change anything.
You don't
'cause
change
this
things.
isn't even an adjustable
Right.
one. This is an old one.
Right.
Which I've tried the adjustable one, but it's funny because this is the EZ model, which was pretty big-headed. Even though I play like blades and smaller clubs, this is a big-headed hybrid. The new ones are a lot smaller. And to me, there's like a confidence in looking down on a slightly bigger hybrid.
Well, it seems like there's a theme because you're playing the old 3-wood, you're playing a 703 wood, and then you're playing that one, which are actually bigger.
You're right. I play bigger fairways and hybrids than the market
So
really
your
sells
look,
right now.
that's you, that's your look.
There's a chance that because I have access to it, I have access to the new stuff before it's even available. It's funny. It's like maybe I'll sneak it in when it's not available, and then I'll go back to the old stuff once it becomes available to the masses. So there's a little bit of a, I don't know if that's an ego thing or a little bit of a I want what others can't have type thing, but there is psychology to it for sure.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, sometimes golf clubs just gravitate towards you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's kind of like, it's like putters. Putters say, the putter chooses you. It kind of looks like
Right.
It's kind of the same thing. Sometimes you look at a golf club and you go, ooh, okay, I like that. Well, I don't know what I like about it, but I like it. I like the
Right.
look of this, and okay, I'm gonna play it. You know, and then at that time, hopefully that it's right for you. Then sometimes it might not be right for you, and then you got to make a change.
Well, that's where I feel like players get lumped into specific profiles of, are they better player or worse player? And that means I should only look at these clubs and not these clubs. Where you look at pros bags, you look at a lot of different bags. Like I've got what would essentially be considered game improvement woods, and I've got players irons. So it's a little bit of an odd thing there. Like the EZ hybrid, the 900 fairway, or sorry, the 700 fairway wood, those are all old game improvement models.
I don't know. It might have been in your, as you've been playing throughout your years, maybe you were not a very good 3-wood player and not a very good so-and-so player, and you grabbed onto something that you finally had a 3-wood that you could play and you did well, and now you stay with it.
Right, totally. Honestly, the 900 tours are the ones that I keep going back and forth on. So the 62s were my favorite irons for a long, long time. I love 62 and would always think about going back to those. 59s were really good, but even then with 59s, I remember first putting them in, kind of wanting to go back to 62. But then with 900 Tour, they're a set that went straight in, stayed in the bag, and then I've got the new bag of MP stuff, but there's this little thing in the back of my head. It's like you're giving up a little bit of forgiveness, and I have gone back and forth between the new MPs and the 900 Tours. My last weekend I played the 900 Tours, didn't play great, so now the MPs are back in the bag. So there's something about it. So T7 wedges, I still love those. 58, 51, 46, so big gaps there. But I tried playing 4 wedges, and I just didn't know what to chip with, which sounds silly, but I like saying, well, this is an obvious gap wedge or an obvious pitching wedge. So I like the non-set matching pitching wedge is really nice.
It's kind of a lack of talent issue.
It could be.
So.
And then on the iron set, I've got the big time combo. I've got the 9-iron, 8-iron, and the MP18. Where's the 8-iron hiding in this bag somewhere? So the True Blade MP18. The 7 and the 6 are the SC. So a little bit bigger, get up a little bit more. 5-iron, I really love the MMC 5-iron. Is really, really good. So that club, I've been tempted to try the 4 in this and even the 6 in this, but I love the MMC 5-iron. And then the 3 and the 4 are the MMC Fly High. So it is the full combo set. And then you go into the woods, it's the old JPX, the first EZ hybrid, the old MX 700 3-wood, which is extremely old. Played that for 8-9 years probably.
That's your comfort club.
That's easy. I know exactly what it's going to do. Easy off the ground and off the tee. And then a 900 driver. That's where, even like on the JPX side, if you look at the 900 Tour, from the pitching wedge to the 3-iron, the shape of the cavity flows a lot, the height of the cavity flows a lot more than, say, if you were to take a look at MP18, where it's a blade where the mass has to stay pretty central and you don't flow it much throughout the set. With the 18 design, you were able to keep each set exactly what it was and not try to flow each set, because the flow came by switching sets. So if you really want a set that does higher launching long irons and lower launching short irons, you need to mix it. So that's where that was almost built into some of the JPX models, but not in the MP models because there's so many options that you do that on your own.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of people, especially in the MP. I see mixing all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, but they might go one model deeper into the set, so they'll go maybe MP18 all the way to the 5, and then
Right.
they'll do the 3 and the 4 in the fly high. Or, you know, I don't see a ton of, you know, the blade and the short iron, you know, the cavity and the mid irons, and then
This is
and
the
you get that.
aggressive mix.
Yeah, you're right. That is the aggressive mix because
Right.
you'll see, like you said, you'll see where it starts to change is the long irons.
Right.
And the reason it's for long irons because the loft has gotten much stronger, and they got to get the ball up in the air,
Right.
and they want more forgiveness, and so that's why they use the long irons that are designed to do that.
The club that's interesting that I don't think anyone messes around with, even though we launched it a couple years ago, is the pitching wedge, the non-set matching pitching wedge. I know we don't sell a ton, and I don't think the market sells a ton, but this is my favorite club in the bag. I feel like the non-set matching pitching wedge is like just a completely different golf club than a set matching pitching wedge.
Do you like it more because it's got the grooves of your sand wedge?
It could be. I feel like it's silly, but it feels like it goes a little bit longer on a full shot because it takes off lower. It takes off lower with more spin. So, but I feel like it goes a little bit further, but at the same time, it's a lot easier to knock this down than it is to knock down
The set
the set
matching
matching.
wedge.
Yeah, I feel like you can do more with it, and chipping with it's great.